Welcome back to the Chicago Tomahawk. I'm Mike. I got my line mate Matt with me. And the NHL is on a hiatus right now up until December 26th, where they could restart hockey activities and practice due to the COVID surge that we've been having. Today, we're going to talk about some Hawk players' performance, give you some NHL news, and just general hockey talk. So, Matt, we've got a really interesting season, not just for the Blackhawks, but it seems that for the NHL as well. There's been so much that has been going on. We've got teams that have been underperforming. We have teams that have been overperforming and continue to overperform. We had the Beijing Olympics. That's not happening because of COVID. NHL players obviously are impacted by so many games that have been postponed. Not to mention players that have been getting COVID, and which is really unfortunate. I really wanted to see some Olympic play, but that's not going to happen this year. The Blackhawks seem to have been doing pretty well with not getting the COVID bug, other than what we've got Calvin DeHaan that's in the COVID protocol right now. But we've got other teams that have about 10 players in COVID protocol, and they could barely even put a team out on the ice. So to start off today, let's talk about the Blackhawks. You know what? I want to start off with Jonathan Toews. I think that taking into consideration this guy, hadn't played a game in over 400 days, comes back, and he's been keeping up, man. Has he been scoring as much as he has in the past? No, but I don't think that he's lost anything on the defensive side of the puck, and definitely at the faceoff dot. Yeah, we're paying him a pretty penny, but you know what? The guy's done a lot for the team in the past, and I think that he's earned his check. Going into this COVID hiatus, he's got about, I think, 4 goals in 4 games, which is, it's really nice to see him get going again. How would you rate Toews' play, taking into consideration, he's had some significant health issues within the past 18 months?
Yeah, sure. You want him to, put more goals in the net. He's got 3 goals, 10 assists, 13 points. He is a -11, but he's on the ice more than other players. His faceoff percentage is 59.46, which is very good. That's a guy that you want in, taking the dots in the final faceoff, final seconds of the game to win a big faceoff for you, kill a penalty, stuff like that. But sure, we wanted him to be, right out of the gate, 15 goals in 15 games. But I mean, I think he's finally getting his feet wet, I guess you could say. Like he's getting back into the rhythm. The only bad thing is now he's got another pause, which kind of sucks. But hey, hopefully it's good rest for him, and he can be charged up after the Christmas break.
Yeah, I agree. And let's move on to Kaner. Kaner's kind of a very, very consistent player. He's always going to produce for you. Obviously more of a playmaker than a sniper, but he could also be described as a sniper as well, considering how good of a backhand he has and his ability to score goals. He's been snake bitten recently, and I don't want to say that it's hurting the team, but that one goal that he could put in here and there really, really helps out. I think that his play has been very good, though, because he's been setting up DeBrincat per usual. DeBrincat finishing the way that he usually does. But DeBrincat's obviously not setting up other people. He's a finisher. How would you rate Kaner's play right now?
If I had to give him a grade, I think I'd put him at like a B-. I mean, I wish he was, like you said, scoring some more goals. He usually has... on the power play, he's not afraid to shoot like in the recent years. He's only got 2 power play goals this year. He's got 9 power play points. It's not that great. He's got 18 assists. We know he's going to put up a crap ton of assists. But the goals aren't there yet. And as for DeBrincat, I mean, the guy's got 17 goals. I think he's top 10. I think he's actually tied with Connor McDavid, which is pretty impressive. But the assists aren't there. But like you said, he's a finisher. We need this. He's like the Sharp of this new era. He's going to shoot in that spot and bury it. But as for Kane, yeah, I kind of hope he shoot the puck more, because his shot is very underrated.
What do you think of? Obviously, we just did. I kind of want to get into DeBrincat a little bit more because he hits guys. He fights. He back checks just as hard as he forechecks. I think that he is a very underrated two-way player, to be honest with you. I've seen him with some great stick lifts and steals, turning them into offensive opportunities. I've seen him go into some corners and do some dirty work and come out with the puck. DeBrincat, I think, is a great all-around player. He gets his reputation as a sniper, obviously, because he puts the puck in the back of the net at a great rate. But I think he's a great two-way player. Would you say he's a good two-way player?
Yeah, I think I honestly think he'll be the next Hawks captain after Taves is done. Yeah, I like his two-way game. I like that he defends his teammates. I think he fought when Kane took a dirty hit and he didn't like it. He went right after the guy, and it's good to see. That's the type of player you want leading the locker room.
He actually won that fight too. I think the guy was trying to laugh at him, and then then he got a knuckle sandwich.
he thought he was fighting a cat, and a freaking lion came out.
Yeah, no, he did, man. DeBrincat's more like a badger, to be honest with you. Something that you really don't want to. Something you don't want to put in a corner. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, don't put baby in a corner.
So let's get on to Dylan Strome, and we're talking about a tale of two players. Typically, if you're a Hawks fan like we are, and you watch every single game, you're going to see the game a bit differently than we do. And if you tune in here and there, you might catch a couple bad games with Dylan Strome, or if you catch a couple different games, you may see a different side of Dylan Strome where he's a better player. So last year, I thought that his play was god-awful. It couldn't have gotten any worse. I didn't think that he had any value to the team. This year is a different tale. When he first got brought to the Blackhawks, he had a really good season because him and DeBrincat have some chemistry. Next season came, his play dropped off. The season after that was last year. He was supposed to be the number one guy, the number one center, and he blew it. This year comes around, he's the odd man out. He's he's practically a healthy scratch for the first 10 to 12 games, and he comes in and he starts being a difference maker. He's gotten some assists, he's gotten a couple goals, but he seems to have more to his game than he has in the past. He seems like he's more, to be honest with you, more interested in the game. Do you see a different Dylan Strome this year than you have in the past?
Once we changed coaches, yes. He was a different player. He was more hungry. He was out there working hard. He wasn't, kind of being mopey on the bench as much, like that puss on his face. I just noticed more hard work from him, and I don't know the last game. Well, the last game he scored, he made a really nice read. The defensive guy on the other team, his stick broke, and Strome took off, and it was a 2-on-1, and he buried it. It was a big goal. I think it actually tied the game, and it actually got us that point to overtime.
Right.
I'm sorry. It might have been Nashville, I think, but it was such a good play by him, and that's what we need out of him. We need consistency from him, and I think he'll stay in the lineup that way.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe with Strome it's more mental than it is, physical. It's like his head needs to be in the right spot for him to play well.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the coaching change definitely benefited him. Maybe him and Seth Jones so far are the best.
So Kirby Dach is a player that I believe has a lot of upside to him. A lot of people want this kid to be a fully developed second line center, and I don't think that that's fair to him. I think that he's developing maybe a little bit slower because he's kind of been thrown into the fire. He didn't get his opportunity down in Rockford to, have a season to kind of acclimate himself to the game and then move him up accordingly. He kind of just showed up to the big game and that's pretty much it. Had some injuries, and I think that's kind of derailed his, how do you say, what's the word I'm looking for here, man? I can't believe I drew a blank. His growth. But recently, he's been shooting more. He's got a great playmaking ability. He's good on his skates. And I think that there is a lot of promise to Kirby Dach and more to come. They've been putting him on a line with Kaner and DeBrincat. He's been on a line with, actually, I think a pretty good line with, I think it was Carpenter and Kubalik, which is kind of like a little bit of an odd pairing. But, when you've got Carpenter going into the corners, playing some hard minutes, and Kirby Dach trying to set up Kubalik, it's I think it's a recipe for success, especially if they're not getting the top line D, trying to shut them down. What do you think of Dach this year, man?
This is tough for me.
It is.
I think I've said it before. I think Kirby Dach should have gotten a year in Rockford. Like you said, the Hawks had no choice to have him up last year and the year before. We were too bad. We needed a guy that could be a difference maker, and I think a year in Rockford would have benefited him and Reichel. Can you imagine that line, Reichel, Dach, and probably Nylander out there? I think it would be a very dangerous AHL, and it probably would be the leading goal scoring in the A. But yeah, there's no doubt he's a very skilled player. I mean, he makes some great passes, and he's still learning. But yeah, I mean, he's stuck up here now, so they got to make the best out of it. They got to find two good wingers for him, and once they start gelling and producing, they gotta stick with it.
So let's move on to Marc-Andre Fleury. The Flower has always been somewhat of an enigma to me, because a lot of people have always said how great of a goalie he is. But every game that I've watched him play in, other than a couple with Vegas, he seems to be like I don't know. He just doesn't play well whenever I watch. I think that he's playing better recently than he has starting the season, but at the start of the first 10 games, I think both of our goalies, Lincoln and Flower, were pretty much left out to dry, and didn't really have a great opportunity to kind of showcase their abilities. I think he's doing it more now, but I think he's let in a goal with 3 seconds left in like 3 games, man, and those are really, really hard pills to swallow. What do you think of Flower's play so far?
Yes, I've always been a huge fan of Fleury. I'm definitely a goalie guy. He's got 500 wins. There's only 3 goalies to do that. But and
he's one of them.
Yeah. When he started with the Blackhawks, it was pretty rough. The first maybe 10 games, 10 starts, we'll say, he was bad. But I guess you could include him in this little group. Since the coaching change, Fleury has looked very good. He's looked shades of last season, and I still don't understand why Vegas let this guy go, because he was the reason why they got to where they were at. Robin Leonard was not. Robin Leonard is a good goalie. I'm a huge fan of him too, but I don't see Vegas making any progress in the playoffs. I think they're going to maybe be a one and done. I know they're at the top, but I don't think Leonard is battle tested like Fleury is. In big games, Fleury shows up and he looks good. But I'm happy with his play now. I think he's very, very consistent. He's making some really big saves. You definitely want to see him tighten up in the last minute and just bear down. And you do got to get help from your defense though, and your forwards. You need them to really buckle down and tighten up in the last minute of a game when you're holding a lead. And but sometimes you need that big save, and like you said, 3 games he gave up a goal when we were winning, and it would have been a solid 2 points, but we gave the other team another point or whatever, or actually lose. We'd like to see that tighten up and not happen anymore.
Yeah, I think that we referred to the Red Wings quite a bit back in the 90s, because they were just such a juggernaut, and us being in the same division, we played them a lot. But do you remember them being up by a goal or maybe up by 2 goals? There would be 3 minutes left, and it would just be incredible to try to even get into the zone. Like, you couldn't even get into the zone. They would just be pressuring you to the end of the game, where it was actually practically suicide to even pull your goalie to have an extra man out there, because they were just so stout defensively and able to turn turnovers into incredible offensive pressure. The Blackhawks need to learn this skill, because you just couldn't win these games. Do you remember that, man?
Oh, of course. I remember. You pull your goalie against Detroit, you're giving Yzerman and Fedorov more points.
Right. 3 points.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with Detroit, you got to really credit Scotty Bowman. He turned Fedorov and Yzerman into solid two-way centers. Having 2 guys on a team like that, I mean, the whole team, like you said, you got great defense to begin with, and you had great goaltending, elite goaltending.
Right.
But if you can't, I mean, it doesn't matter who's in net. If you don't even let the opposing team in your zone or force them to dump and chase, and you got a puck-playing goalie that just gets it up to the wingers, there's no way. That's why they were so good in the 90s, and that's why everybody hated them, except Detroit fans.
Yeah, no
I know
kidding.
I hated them.
So moving on to Juju Har. You know what, man? I really like this guy, man. I think that he's a great 4th line player. He hits guys. He'll pass the puck. He'll do whatever he can to be a asset to the team. He doesn't produce very much, but I think that he produces in ways that a 4th liner is supposed to. He brings he brings energy. He hits guys. He plays really hard. I really like the guy, man. What would you say about Juju?
Yeah, I like him, and I'm glad he's okay after that big hit against the Rangers, Trouba. But hey, it's good to see him. He's back on the ice practicing, and it was a violent hit. But like you said, he's like a sandpaper guy. He'll stick up for teammates. He'll go make some big hits, and he's got a little skill to him. I mean, like, he's not going to put up big numbers, but I know the Edmonton Oilers had nothing but good things to say about him, when he was in the organization. And I'm glad we got him, and hopefully we could build around that 3rd line, 4th line with him. Him being the bottom 6.
I want to move on to Caleb Jones, because I think that it's pretty. I'm actually kind of dumbfounded, because Juju Har is a good 4th line player, which is what we needed, and Caleb Jones is actually a very good. I think that he's a good defenseman in his own right. Obviously, his brother usually gets more of the limelight when you mention the Jones brothers, but I think Caleb Jones has some really good upside to him. I think that he's a good skater. I think that he plays well in his own end, and I think that he's good in the transition going into the offensive zone and creating opportunities. What do you think about Caleb?
Yeah, I like him. He's one of the only Hawks that's a positive player. He's +2. I know he scored his first goal as a Hawk. It was a huge goal, overtime winner. I like him. I think he's a good 5-6 defenseman to have. And, he's just, like, you don't hear about him. That means he's doing his job. He's steady out there, not making mistakes. And hopefully you get some points here and there to contribute. That's even better.
So Jake McCabe is somebody that I was really looking forward to on getting on this team. I think that he's a stout defenseman, plays great in his own end, and he'll stand guys up. His start to the season was not very good. Now, which seems to be following a trend that nobody had a good start to this season underneath Jeremy Colliton. But ever since this coaching change, and going forward, let's take into account just the coaching change and how players have gotten better. I think that McCabe is definitely more playing his game right now, and I think that he's getting settled in on this team, which I think takes a little bit for guys coming from an old team coming into a new team, getting settled, getting acclimated to the town, to new teammates, and making new friends. I think that he's been very good recently. Definitely somebody that you want on the back end, and I think he's going to get even better as the year goes on. How are you with Jake?
Yeah, I would honestly like to see him paired with Seth. I think those two would just work. You got speed and offensive minded with just I'm going to shut you down and nail you if you try to get into the open ice. I think I was excited when we got him too. I was really happy actually at the cap hit. It's not even, it seems like it's very
Steal.
fair, and yeah, and it's him and Connor Murphy I know have been paired up, and yeah, I mean, like I said, if you're going to work against, say like we're playing the Rangers in a playoff series, I know it would never happen, but you'd want him out there when the Breadman's out there with his guys, and hey, shut this guy down, and I like him and Murphy would be good, but during the season, you want to spread the wealth a little bit. I think him and Jones would be a solid pairing to have because you got a responsible guy that's gonna take care of his own end when Jones is going to do his thing, which you need. You do need defensemen that can do that, and you got that responsible guy back there making sure that we're covered.
Moving on to Brandon Hagel, one of my favorite new Hawks since last year. Since last year, he has made a huge impact on the team on both ends of the ice. He scores. He plays defense. He back checks very well. He's really good on the forecheck. He goes into corners and wins battles. He does absolutely everything. And for $1.5 million a year, I think it's an absolute steal. I think that we kept the right guy. If you want to compare, Pius Suter going to Detroit or Brandon Hagel staying in Chicago, I think that absolutely the right choice was made keeping Hagel. I think that he's going to be a fan favorite for the Hawks for quite a while. I love the guy. He scores big goals. He makes big passes. To be honest with you, if I had to give him a grade, I'd have to give him an A+ because he's just so he just makes his will known and does it, man, on a nightly basis. And you couldn't really ask for more from a player.
Yeah, he's the Swiss Hagel knife. He does it all. And I could see him. He's at 8 goals and 8 assists. I can honestly see him getting 20 goals, maybe 25 tops, and maybe even hitting the 20 assist mark. I think that would, like an average grinded out guy. I think one of my favorite Hawks too. I know a lot of people they like hustle and they like hard work, and that's what Brandon Hagel is.
Yeah, and he's about it, man. I love him. Moving on to Brett Connolly. The reason I wanted to touch on this is because, Brett Connolly, I think, is at this point in his career as an AHLer. I think that's where he's best suited. I think the game's a little faster now, and he seems to be lagging behind. And but I don't think that his play has been very good for the Blackhawks. He just seems to be a step slower than everybody else, and he doesn't seem to contribute as much as say younger players who need the experience should be. Where are you at with Connolly?
Well, when I went to the Ice Hogs Wolves game, he was on the first line with Reichel, and you know what? He really complimented him well. He would get him the puck, and he'd be in front of the net on the power play. But it's the AHL. I think they called him up to kind of give other teams a look at him, like if they're trying to find a buyer for him, just to move that contract. But it is a very big contract for a guy that's, in the AHL. I think he's at like 3.75 or somewhere around there. But yeah, he's a very, I think he's not even 30 yet. He's a very older 30. I think that Washington Capitals Stanley Cup run really took a toll on him. He looks a lot older than he is. But hey, I liked him. I liked him on the Ice Hogs. I thought he played well. That hit, it was unfortunate. I don't think he's a dirty player. I just think it was bad timing and a misread on the hit on Tanner Carroll.
Right. So Kevin Lankinen, I think, is a player that is really taking a lot in. And I think that to be honest with you, this start to the season, everything that he's gone through is really good for his development, because when I would think, Matt, as a player, when you go in and you've got good times, you're winning Stanley Cups, you know nothing but winning, and then you come back to earth and things aren't as good. I think that's really hard on players, because when you have success at the beginning of your career, you've kind of hit the top, and you might not be as hungry. But when you're kind of at the bottom and you're hustling to play and you're trying to develop and you're trying to be the number one guy, there's a lot that goes into that. A lot of character development. And I think that's what's happening with Lincoln. And I don't think his play has been bad this year. I think he could benefit from more playing time. I don't think that this break is going to help him, but I think that he's learning from Flower, and I think that he's going to be a better player from it. I look to see him to get more starts coming up in the second half of the season, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him develop. What do you think about Lankinen?
Yeah, there's no doubt he is my future franchise goalie for the Blackhawks, unless they go off and do something crazy like sign a free agent goalie, which there's not many. All the good goalies are usually signed, and even the backup goalies are signed, because now everybody almost wants a 1A and 1B, and I'd consider Lankinen a 1B. When he's in net, it's not like I'm like nervous like I know the Rangers fans are when their starter went down. They were so freaking out about I think it was Igor Gregoriev or whatever it is.
Yeah.
They were freaking out about this guy, and he's not a bad goalie, but Shesterkin is just a better goalie. But when Lankinen's in net, I'm perfectly fine. I know he's a good goalie. I mean, he's young. He's going to make mistakes, but like you said, he's behind one of the greatest goalies of all time, learning and just sponging it out on the bench. Just soak it in, man, and take notes on this guy and model your game a little bit after him. Get pointers. Like, look what he does in the locker room. Look at his work ethic in practice. I know I'm always seeing videos of Fleury, usually the last guy on the ice, just working hard with some of the players, taking some extra shots, breakaways, and stuff like that. That all pays off in the end, man. He's one of the best for a reason. He puts in the work, and hopefully Lankinen's learning.
Yeah, I think Lankinen is what they've wanted out of Colin Delia and Malcolm Subban. They've found their next goalie, their next Crow, if you want to say, a guy who comes up from the bottom and kind of takes over. I think it's going to be his job to lose going forward. The only thing that they need to do is find a 1B to back him up going into the future.
Well, don't forget, man, Crow, it took him a while to get this job.
It did.
I mean, it took a while. He paid his dues in the minors. He came up. Believe he sat behind Marty Turco one year, and he actually ended up taking the job from him. He had a great season that year. Yeah. But he also had some bad seasons with the Hawks, really bad seasons. Like even when we were good, I remember that 2012 playoff series with the Coyotes. He was brutal. He's one of the reasons why we lost. I mean, we have to score goals, but when you're giving up goals and the puck doesn't even leave the ice, that can't happen. But he really turned his game around, I think, when Ray Emery was signed. It's like Ray Emery was not losing games. And Crow was like, geez, man. And even Scott Darling. Scott Darling came in and saved the day a couple times.
Yeah.
So competition sometimes is a very good thing. When you got two goalies, competition could be huge, a motivator for these guys to not want to lose their spot, play the hot hand and stuff like that. But Crow really became elite after those two goalies. I feel like maybe Emery really pushed him to be better, and he was. He earned it.
Yeah, I would say that Emery and Darling were the best things that happened to Crow, because I think that they, I mean, dude, they really pushed him, man. They truly was a 1A, 1B, because didn't Emery go on like a
20-0, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
It was incredible.
guy was a beast. He's one of my favorite backup goalies of all time for the Blackhawks. I don't even consider him a backup. He
Yeah.
played half the year pretty much.
And even Darling, man, Darling was lights out too.
Oh, how can
he's-
you not root for a guy like that? Yeah, he was great. That he came in the Nashville series, right?
Right.
In relief, and he won the game.
Yeah.
Man, that's like legendary, like fictional books. You know, like this guy is like a Lifetime movie. The backup goalie comes in and saves the day. I mean, that's awesome.
I remember him coming in, and I remember his movements being really crisp, post to post, with the movement of the puck. I'm like, oh man, we're gonna win this game. This
He's
guy's
just so big. He's a big guy. And
Yeah.
He can move. He was really fun to watch.
So moving on to Gus, which was probably the most questionable signing that I've ever seen, because I wasn't sure what the point of it was. We had a couple guys go down, but we've also got some guys that can step up. Gus, I think, to be honest with you, man, has gotten better as time has gone on. It seems that he has trying to work out his defensive liabilities as the season has gone on, and I think that he's making some headway with it. I was expecting to be the old Gus who would get caught in his own zone all the time, but he's actually been playing a lot better than he has in the past. Do you think that Gus has developed better defensively this season than, would you say, prior?
I think he's still like the same type of player. He's just pretty much a one-dimensional offensive defenseman. I mean, he is a +3. He's got the highest plus or minus rating on the team, I think, which is kind of embarrassing because he doesn't play defense. But on the power play, he knows his role. He's gonna be like a quarterback on that power play, get the puck to Kaner, get it over to the other side of the cat. But I mean, like I think you said this a couple of podcasts ago, we were really looking forward to see a little bit of Wyatt Kalynuk, and I think this guy might have taken his spot, which kind of sucks because I was excited to see Wyatt. I think Wyatt's more of a two-way guy, like a Riley Stillman,
Right.
but leaning more towards the defensive side of it. But hey, I mean, it was kind of like Bowman's parting gift. Here's Gus. See you later. I'm gone. But he hasn't been bad. He's not like, he's not the reason why we're losing games like he used to be in the past with his like -3, -4s every game. But he's not like hurting us, or he is helping here and there. But he's not like a difference maker in the game.
Moving on to Connor Murphy. I think this guy has gotten better year by year by year. It's really crazy to think that we got him for Nicholas Dromelson, and Hammer he's retired now, and good on him. I hope that he's enjoying his retirement. One of the best Blackhawks of all time. His number deserves to be in the rafters. I hope to expect to see Seth Jones wearing a different number next year.
Agreed.
Maybe Patrick Pullen will let him wear his number 44. But
90s time machine. Oh man.
But I think Connor Murphy's been playing well, man. I think that he is a solid presence on the defensive line. He's not as shaky as he used to be. I think that he's developed into a solid player, and I enjoy watching him play. Where are you at with Murphy?
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, have you seen his helmet get thrown off this year? Remember
No.
last year, it seemed like he was on like a 5-game losing his helmet streak. But no, him and McCabe, I feel like they're almost the same types of players. It's good to have guys like that you could trust, and obviously you want to have a better plus minus. He's at -13 right now, but that just shows you he's on the ice a lot. So. I mean, they're really depending on this guy to be, another shutdown McCabe type guy. I think he could do it. I just think we need to put some better players around him and maybe get him a good defensive partner. I like him and McCabe, but I still think we should spread that out a little bit. Maybe even like a Murphy Gustafson pairing. You know what I mean? You're spreading it out.
Yeah.
You're putting two different types of guys out there, and you're going to do your job because you're more responsible than those offensive guys. But I think he could. I like him. I think for the cap pit, it's very fair, and I could. He's a top 4 guy. I think it's right now. It's Jones. It's It's Jones, McCabe, Murphy, and I guess you got to give the other guy to DeHaan. He hasn't been bad either.
Moving on to Henrik Borgstrom, I think that he's been something that the Hawks wanted. I think he's definitely trying to grow into that role, maybe a fourth line center, third line center type of guy who's defensive responsible but has some offensive upside. Kind of like a David Kemp who could score. But I would like to see a little bit more out of him, and I would like to see him play more just so that I can get a better read on him. Do you have a read on Borgstrom yet?
No, I think he scored the other night when we scored 3 in like 34 seconds. I think he was one of them. He made a nice play. I know he's only got 2 goals this year, 17 games played. Yeah, he came with the trade, I believe, with Brett Connolly. What was it? For,
Riley Stillman as well.
Right, which I think Riley Stillman has definitely been the best piece of that trade, and
right.
I remember talking about it last year with you on the podcast, and I was really excited to see him. But yeah, I don't really have enough on Borgstrom to even throw out a comment on him. I just you never notice him.
Right. I'm looking to get to see more out of him before I could even really give an accurate assessment of his play. So let's move on to Mackenzie Entwistle, and he's been somebody that I think that Theo Fox hit the nail on the head. He was ready for the big show. I think that he's a great fourth liner. He plays really hard. He does have offensive upside. He hits. He's an energy guy, and he brings it when he's out on the ice. He's really makes his presence known. How are you with Entwistle?
Yeah, I agree with usually everything Theo Fox says. The guy just knows his stuff, and I'm really impressed with this kid. And I didn't see it coming, honestly. I didn't know too much about him, but he has been one of the better players on this team for sure.
Where are you at with Dominic Kubalik? Because I'm
very disappointed.
The guy's really, I don't know if it's snake bitten. I don't know if he's not getting the offensive opportunities that he needs. Is he getting the opportunities to shoot the puck? He's not scoring. It's worrisome because we're supposed to have like a 1-2 line sniping squad of him and DeBrincat, and DeBrincat seems to be the only guy who's picking up the pace.
Yeah, you definitely wanted him to be like your second line trigger man, DeBrincat being the top line guy, sniper. But looking at Kubalik's stats now, they're very bad. I think he's got 6 goals and 6 assists, and this guy has a very, very good shot, very good release. He's only got 63 shots, man. Seth Jones has 78 shots. That really can't happen when you're.
Yeah.
You need your forwards to have more shots than defensemen, and he's just not shooting enough. And when he does shoot, it's that's probably going 5 feet over the goalie's head or 5 feet wide to the glove or blocker. But man, when he does connect, the goalies have no chance. That's how good it is. It's almost like a Panarin one-timer shot, like an Ovechkin. Like if this guy gets open ice space, he is going to bury it. He's just got to connect. I think if he could start connecting, he's going to be in better shape.
And that would be really good for the Blackhawks too, because we're more defensive minded now. We could really use some of these offensive guns to start scoring some goals.
Our offense is not good, man. We only got DeBrincat in double-digit goals right now, and that's it. He's got 17. The closest guy to him, I believe, is Hagel with 8. So that's a big gap. We need some guys getting over 10.
Philip Kurashev is someone who's I think that he's a good player that's looking to break out, but I don't think that he's found his identity yet. It seems that like he's looking for it. I think he's got a nice shot. He's got great skating ability. He does play both ends of the ice, which I really appreciate. I love two-way players, but I don't think that he has found who he is as a hockey player yet. Do you have a sense that Kurashev is maybe finding himself or maybe finding a place on the team?
I think it was a real wake-up call when they sent him down to Rockford, and he played great down there, and they called him right back up in the next game. I think he scored his first of the season, and I liked his last year. I thought he was great early on. He was winning puck battles, winning board battles, and coming out with the puck and giving a nice pass to Kaner or whoever, and the guy would bury it. He kind of reminds me of like an Adam Burish, but he's definitely got more offensive upside to him. He's got a good shot. He's smart. I just think that he's like an energy type of guy. He could be a good third line guy, I think. And I just don't see him in the top 6 though. He is a very good, very skillful player, but he's not consistent enough to be a top 6 for me.
Yeah, and it's almost, kind of like a tale of Alex Nylander, where in order for him to be successful, he needs like that top 6 role.
I don't think he'll ever see a game with the Blackhawks, quite honestly. From what I saw in Rockford, he coasts a lot. He dogs it. And my father-in-law is a very hockey-minded guy.
Are you talking about Nylander?
I am. I'm not talking about Kurashev. I think Kurashev is an NHL player. But as for Nylander, I don't know what it is. He's got that attitude like he's not his brother at all.
No.
He's like better than you, and he skates like he's like Hollywood and everything. And he wants to be in the NHL, but to me, he's just that type of guy. He did not go near any pucks on the boards. I felt like he didn't want to go and get dirty, take a hit. He would kind of stay in the middle of the ice and just look for a fancy pass and everything and cause turnovers. I know that was only one game I saw, but I think there's a reason why he's not up, because maybe I detect a little bit of laziness in his game, and like he's too skilled to do those types of things. But hey, man, if you want to play in the NHL, you have to do those things. So I don't mean to take in time with Kurashev, but I think when you brought up Nylander, it just kind of rang a bell in my head. Like, hey, I don't think this guy will ever see a game in the NHL. I don't even think he deserves it, quite honestly.
Yeah, the only reason that I brought them up was that, Nylander wouldn't play well on a fourth line. He needs to be in the top line in order to utilize his skill set. I think that Kurashev is somewhat similar to that, where he needs to be put in the right position in order to be successful.
True, but if Buffalo's trading you, that's a bad sign, unless your name is Jack Eichel, so.
Or hopefully Jake McCabe.
Well, he signed here.
Yeah.
We didn't give up assets for him like we did. Right. We gave up Yoki Haru for this guy, and
who's doing nothing.
Yes, there was high hopes on Yoki Haru, but Bowman just likes to draft offensive-minded defensemen, and you have to get some two-way and one-way defensive guys, and that's why he's not here anymore.
So moving on to Calvin DeHaan, I think that it's time for the Blackhawks to move on. I would really like to see some Wyatt Kalynuk in the lineup, and I think that him and Gustafsson are taking up roster spots for some of the younger guys who could be playing right now. DeHaan I think that he's played better this year than he has in the past, but I think that he's kind of getting up there in age. I think the injuries are starting to take a toll on him, and I think his game is starting to slide a bit. Where are you at with DeHaan?
Yeah, he's Owen. He doesn't have any goals, any assists. He's minus 12. He does have experience. That's the only thing he does have against these guys. He's 30 years old. He's got 477 games played. But the thing that hurts us the most is that cap hit. I think he's at like $4.5 million, and I'd honestly, I'd rather utilize that somewhere else, and hopefully there's a buyer for him at the trade deadline.
Ryan Carpenter is a player that was kind of on the edge of, is he going to make the team? Is he not going to make the team at the start of the season? We had guys like Mackenzie Entwistle that was biting at his heels. There was a lot of competition for it. I believe, they both made the team. Carpenter I think that he's a very talented player. I think that he's a good fourth liner, but that being said, I'm not sure, where he fits in going forward. Where are you at with Carpenter?
Yeah, he's a fourth line guy, man, and he's going to hustle every shift. He's going to work hard every shift, and he's not going to be putting up points. That I think he knows his role, and he's not bad at it. It's just you got to put the right guys together for stuff to work, and I like him. I think him and Kyrou would be pretty solid on the line, but I'm not the coach. I'm a podcaster just like you.
Moving on to the last guy on the list, Riley Stillman. I'm a very big fan of Riley Stillman. I think that he's a great player. I think he plays both sides of the ice very well. He blocks shots. He hits guys. He can make the outlet. He can make the outlet pass. And I really like him, man. I think that he's a great player. I think he was a great piece that we got in that Florida trade. I think that he's worth it, and I think that he deserves a spot on the roster. And I look forward to seeing him in a Blackhawks sweater for years to come.
Yeah, I was raving about that trade last year. I was really happy with it, and I know people were saying Borgstrom was the main piece of that trade, and I honestly thought it was Stillman because we needed help on the blue line. We needed a guy that could play like he does, and I think for $1 million for 3 years, that's an absolute great cap hit.
Yeah,
he got the years. He's still 23, so yeah, I look forward for him to be a part of this future blue line too.
So wrapping up, I think that the Blackhawks are a better team today than they were than when they started the season, and I think that's what's most important to take here. With the rough start to this season, I think that this team is really going to be pushing to make the playoffs. They need to go on a big run, and but I think that they can do it. They have the assets, they have the offensive talent. They have a good defensive-minded coach that is fixing their deficiencies of what they had before, and they've got two very solid goalies that can backstop them. So I don't think that there's any reason why, they don't make it. But going forward, I think that I think that this team is a team that is finding its identity because it doesn't have one right now. They've been known to be, winners and, winning Stanley Cups and all that stuff. Those years are in the past. This is a new team. And this team is looking for an identity, and I think that they're going to find it within the next 20 games. And after that, I think that they're going to make a push, man. Where are you at going forward with the Blackhawks?
I really like the core, the young guys they're putting together, but we did forget to talk about one guy, the All-Star, Seth Jones. I think he's been a great pickup for us, and I can't say enough good things about the guy. I know he gets a lot of hate because of that salary, but whatever, so be it. It shouldn't affect anybody. But as for the team around, we got some great young pieces. Kirby Doc, we got like the guy Stillman we just talked about. He's going to be a solid top 4 defenseman. Hopefully, I like the pickups we had. And hopefully Taves and Kane can, get it together and get on a little point streak here, and maybe we can fight for a wild card. But I do think it's going to be pretty tough.
Yeah, it is going to be really tough. And I apologize for forgetting about Seth Jones. I think that we were talking about him before we started the podcast, so I kind of thought that I covered him. That's my bad, man. Do you got any NHL news for everybody other than the entire NHL being shut down for COVID and the NHL? And NHLPA announcing that they will not be participating in the Olympics?
Well, yeah, we saw that coming. I think it's the right move. There's no reason to get stuck in a country right now that really doesn't care about you anyway. So, we could talk about the stat leaders. I think McDavid and Draisaitl are going to be up there for the next the next decade. Those guys will be up there. McDavid's leading the league with 49 points. We got Draisaitl at 23 goals. Adam Fox is leading all defensemen with 31 points. Vasilevsky is leading the NHL in wins with goaltending. He's got a 2.14 goals against average. He's a beast, man. He's going to be one of the best goalies of all time. I think he will probably get to the 500 win club along with Fleury when it's all said and done. Very exciting. I am a Tampa fan. I do like that team. I love the coach, John Cooper. I wish we could find a guy like that, a younger guy to kind of move up with these young guys and win some Stanley Cups. But let's not forget Seth Jones is in the top 10 for defensive points, and a lot of people hate on this guy. It drives me and Mike crazy. I know I am always talking about it. I don't get the hate with this guy. We watch him every night. He's been in my opinion, one of the best Blackhawks.
You know, it's really funny when you think of like coaches, you think of like their age, you know, and obviously, you know, Derek King, he's not exactly a, how do you say, young, but I think that he deserves his opportunity, man. I hope that this time next year we're talking about how we're happy that we've got Derek King and how he's been a revelation for the team and been a coach for the players to look up to. I kind of think that Culloden was set up to fail, but because, you know, he was just so young. But I think that Derek King, man, might be what we need. Hopefully he is, and we'll see how it plays out. You know, it's been, you know, such a crazy end of the year with the NHL, you know, me getting sick, taking a couple weeks off, you know, I apologize for that, but, you know, I just couldn't podcast for 2 weeks. You know, me and Matt are really appreciative of, you know, all of our listeners, everybody tuning in. Thank you for, you know, for listening to us and sticking with us. We really appreciate it. By the time you guys listen to this, it's going to be Christmas. So we want to wish you guys and your families a Merry Christmas, and enjoy the time, you know, the time off if you're off from work, you know, spending time with the family. Christmas is one of my favorite holidays. So enjoy your time. Merry Christmas. And we'll see you on the next one. This is the Tomahawk, and we're out of here.